Hello and welcome to this video tutorial from Computergaga.com, and in this video we are going to look at how to create a macro that will sort your worksheet tabs alphabetically. And you are going to see me write this macro in front of your very eyes. We're going to put it together, and then that code will be available for you to either follow along to learn or to use in your own way. Now you can see on screen I've not got some very exciting sheets here. They have nothing on them, but let's pretend they're amazing. But more importantly, looking to the bottom, we can see we have some sheet tabs, and I have one called Rosanna, one called Joseph, one called Sally, one called Robert, one called Michelle. And Michelle's where I am at the moment, actually. Let me go to Rosanna and go to the start. Not that it really matters. But you can see they're not in order. You know, what should be first? Joseph should be first, then Michelle, then Robert, then Rosanna, then Sally, I think, if I'm getting that right. But they're clearly not in order. So, let me zoom out and let's create a macro. So let me click on my developer tab at the top and Visual Basic. If you don't see a developer tab, you can right mouse click the ribbon, customize it and bring in the developer tab here. But here we are in the Visual Basic window, and I'm going to insert a module for me to write this code in. Now, I'm familiar that some of you watching this video may not be so familiar with writing VBA and use of macros, so please watch the video because you can learn from it. But I will put a link to my VBA course in the description of this video as well for you to learn from. I will be going through at a fair pace, so I won't be covering everything in detail for those of you who are not VBA familiar, but it may still be useful to you. Let me just make this text clearer on screen. Okay, so let me create my sub procedure. I'm going to create a sub procedure called sort sheets. Simple as that, and immediately declare two variables. This is going to be as integer, and I'm going to have one called I as integer as well. So what I want to do is create a couple of loops. I'm going to have one loop that loops through, well, they're both going to loop through all the sheets actually. It might be easier to explain as I start to write. So I've got S and I, two common letters to use for index numbers for sheets. Integer could have gone for the byte data type really because of how many sheets we have, but I've gone for integer just to kind of play safe a little bit. And let's start with my first loop. I'm going to say for S equals 1 to active workbook dot sheets dot count. So I want to make sure I include all sheets, not just worksheets. And then I'm going to put next S. Don't need to put the S there, could have just done next, but because we're going to have two loops, that might make it a little bit clearer and easier to read for people. So this first loop is just looping through all the sheets of the book, from the first sheet to the last sheet, do something, next one, second sheet to the end, next one, third sheet to the end, next one. And within that loop, we're going to have another loop that looks almost the same. To active workbook dot sheets dot count -1. Next I. Let me talk about that -1 in a little bit rather than now. Here is why you can see I've written a letter. Next S, next I, but that might explain things a bit easier now. Instead of having two words saying next, it's a bit clearer what one's what. And within that loop, we are going to have an if statement. And that is going to test if that sheet name is greater than, I could have done a bit of copy and pasting here to help me out as I quickly try and type this in, is greater than the other name. So what do we have going on here then? So the U case is a function to convert text or a string to uppercase. The use of the dollar sign, not necessary, but it ensures that whereas the uppercase function will normally return that value as a variant data type, that forces it to return it as a string. So this is quite a lightweight macro, but this is all common practice just to make it a little bit more streamlined by explicitly determining that data type will make it a leaner, more powerful macro. Here we've got the reference to that variable. So for the first sheet name, is it greater than the second sheet name? So current number plus 1. Then, and what we want it to do, if it is greater than it, is to move it after it. So sheets I dot move. Press my spacebar, and then we're going to put in the argument of after sheets I plus 1. After sheets I plus 1. And that, as easy as that, is our macro. Now I want to run through this macro so that you can see it in action live and get a better understanding as to how this works. So if I just restore this window a little bit, let's make it a little bit smaller so that we can see the code, but also in the background I can see the sheet tabs at the bottom. And if I use my F8 key to step through this code, and if I bring my locals window at the bottom so I can view the variables in action, here we go. For s equals 1, and it is assigned number 1 at the bottom. And we've then got this other loop from number 1 to sheets.count minus 1. Because you don't really need to go to the end of the count this time when we're moving them. Once you get from the second from last, you don't need to check the last one anymore, because you can't move the last one to any further along, if that makes sense. We then test it, and the U case, convert them to uppercase, just to make sure both sheet names are in the same case for testing, because there is a difference between uppercase and lowercase when we're thinking about alphabetical order. So put them in the same case. The test is done. So we're looking at Rosanna against Joseph right now at the bottom. So is that name greater than the other name? Yes, it is. Rosanna is greater than Joseph. So it moves inside. And if you watch down the bottom at Rosanna and Joseph, moves the sheet after it. Next I, skips back round, I is now 2. Is the second sheet, Rosanna, greater than the third sheet, Sally? No, it's not. Skips back round, in it goes again. Is the third sheet, Sally, greater than the fourth sheet? Robert? Yes, it is. Moves it. Skips back round. And it keeps going. The fourth sheet, Sally, greater. Yes, it is. Moves it. Eventually ends that loop. Goes back to the exterior loop and goes again. So we have this internal loop moving through each of the sheets to the second from last sheet, moving each one to after the sheet name if its name is greater than. But also an external loop ensuring that it runs 5 times, just to be doubly sure that every sheet has been tested and has been moved into the right place. If I finish this macro off by pressing the button at the top to run, because I still need to ensure that Rosanna and Robert change places and Michelle is out of order here, although at the moment Joseph and Sally are already in the correct places. So if I run the rest of this, rather than stepping through one at a time. Here's their end result: Joseph, Michelle, Robert, Rosanna, Sally. All of them are ordered alphabetically. I hope you found this video useful. Please check out some of our other video tutorials on our YouTube channel and come check us out at Computergaga.com.